So for today's lesson, I'd like us to pay real close attention to how Steinbeck sets up dualities throughout the course of the text. He does this in many different ways. It was really interesting how he does it. He plays around with the dual nature, how one thing can be two, or that in the world there are two competing and opposing elements. In the beginning of the text, he does this very specifically with the setting of the text. We can see the natural setting of Soledad in the Salinas River, a setting that he was very familiar with, Steinbeck, being that he grew up in the Salinas River Valley in California. He gives us this beautiful, kind of almost too good to be true setting that on the surface reads really, really, really positively. But once we dig into it, we see that it has an underlying morbidity or despair to it. Look to the elements that kind of hint at things not being as pretty as they could possibly be. Look at the nature of the leaves that they walk on. They are not fresh. They are not leaves of spring, even though the setting is indicated to be spring. Look also at the elements inside nature, like the little animals. I'd like us to try and consider whether or not there's significance to the growing size of the animals as he introduces them to us. But to me, in the passages that I gave you, one of the most interesting things is the introduction of and the further description of the rabbits as ultimately once men are introduced or almost introduced to the scene, that they're still almost like rock, maybe even hinting at the potentiality of them being like a gravestone. Just a really interesting little caveat to the things that Steinbeck does in the text. And then when we read on and you look at some of the other questions in the lesson, I'd like you to really pay close attention to George and Lenny and how they seem to be opposites of sorts, not only physically, but also in terms of their mentality and how they approach life. I'd like us to pay real close attention to how these two interact with one another and how they may equate also to this idea of duality. Again, that's D-U-A-L-I-T-Y. Would be a real good idea for you to maybe look that word up. I'll probably put a link on today's classroom. But any questions, I'll be available during the course of the lesson via GoGuardian. And you can always get in touch with me via email once the GoGuardian sessions are finished. So, good luck, have fun, and I'll see you soon.